So, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a scientist. Um, I used to watch this show on the TV. It was called Brainiac Science Abuse, and it was Richard Hammond, the short one off Top Gear, and he would basically just go around blowing up caravans and calling it science. It wasn't particularly scientific at all. They did some interesting things. So they used to one time they filled up a swimming pool and they filled it with custard, and then that the guy walked on the custard because if you walk fast enough you wouldn't get sucked in. But if you stopped, then you would start getting sucked in, and then they wouldn't be able to get you back out again. Uh, and then you'd probably die, right? So I wanted to be a scientist. Um, you can probably tell from the way I speak that I don't come from money. Although the way I dress, I suppose maybe you probably think I'm an oil sheik. But no, we didn't come from money. Um, yeah, I wanted to be a scientist. We didn't even know any scientists. We didn't know any scientists. There were no scientists in the family. I wanted to be a scientist. And, this was it's just sort of a phase thing. So anyway, there was a really nice school near me. It was a private school. And we could never afford to go there, right? Some of my fondest memories of a kid were of walking around Asda right before it closed. It was a 24-hour Asda, but under labour laws, you can't be open for 24 hours on a Sunday. So right before they would close on Sunday, they would start reducing in price everything they had to throw away. So the bread is now like £1.30 for a loaf, but when I was a kid it was about 50p. But the bread that they couldn't sell, that had to be sold that day, they would reduce in price. It would just keep going down. And we'd walk round and round in circles, right before closing time, waiting for it to go down. So it would go to 20p, then it would go to 10p. These are it's like cents, right? So a decimal of a pound we would call a pence, but we call it p. So 10p, because it's 10 pence. Same way we call pounds quid. Don't know why. We just do. Anyway, yeah, so we would wait for it to go to 5p, and then we would throw it in the freezer, and then I would have this bread, man. It was the bread obviously nobody else wanted to eat, and it would have seeds in it, and it was called granary loaf because that was always the one nobody wanted to eat. So it was called granary loaf. Usually the sides would be pretty dinged up because it was the one nobody wanted to buy, right? So it will have been dropped a few times. Stuff like that. I throw it in the freezer, and I'd have defrosted granary bread. Now, as a kid, I didn't really understand why this was happening. And I was like, why do you guys hate me so much? Can we not just have normal bread like all the other kids? But, now I appreciate why it was done. Yeah, I wanted to be a scientist. Not only because I thought it was really interesting, but also so I could afford proper bread. So the house wouldn't be so bloody cold all the time. So that was the plan, right? So got into this school, this really nice school, because they would give scholarships to sort of the mega poor kids if they aced this entrance exam, because there are only so many scholarships, and there's a lot of poor kids. But yeah, I apparently I did quite well in the exam. They never told me what grade I got, but it was enough to get in. So I got into this school, surrounded by people who could have proper bread, among other things. I wanted to be a scientist. And when I was about 14, a guy came in, and he was sort of a scientist, but he sort of wasn't. He was telling me, and a bunch of other kids, about how he made Persil. It's a laundry detergent. He made Persil in Africa, and he designed this thing in Africa, this factory in Africa, and they built it all in shipping crates in the UK. I think it was in the UK, and then they put the whole factory was built in shipping crates. Then the shipping crates were transported to Africa, somewhere in Africa. I can't remember where for the life of me. And then within 24 hours, they'd assembled all these shipping crates together, and then they had a factory that made Persil. Because they'd built each part of that factory in a shipping crate. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. It's kind of sciencey. It's kind of something else, a bit more applied. So that's when I decided to become a chemical engineer. I think I was 14. And I wanted to become a chemical engineer. So in the UK, you do this thing, they're called GCSEs. So you do the General Certificate of Secondary Education. You do those when you're 16. And then they decide what A-levels you do, which are exams you do when you're 17 and 18, called AS levels and A-levels. And then they decide what university you get into. Now, you want to be a chemical engineer, you want to make Persil in Africa and not have to eat the bread with the seeds in it, the granary bread. You gotta get some really nice grades. So if you're in the UK, you'll know what these grades mean, but nobody else will. And they keep changing them, so now you don't even get letters anymore, you get numbers. But the top grade used to be an A star, and you needed a lot of those if you wanted to get it. In terms of percentiles, you had to be in like it's like 90th percentile to the 99th percentile, something like that. If you wanted to do chemical engineering. If you want to stop eating the bread with the seeds in it. So yeah, I did alright. So for my GCSEs, I got 8 A stars and 2 A's, because you do 10. And for my AS levels, they didn't have A stars when I did them, but I got 4 A's, so 4 of the top grade. And then for A levels, I got 2 A stars and 1 A. Took a lot of effort. Think about how much work went into that. I didn't want to eat the bread with the seeds in it. So I got those grades, and those grades put me in the top 1% of the country, maybe, something like that. It's a while since I did it, but most people don't get grades like that. But hey, I got into that really good school. And so I got those grades, and I went to a good university, not the best. So in the UK, the best universities are Oxford, Cambridge, and Imperial. Imperial in London. I didn't get into those, but below that they've got something called the Russell Group, which is the British equivalent of the Ivy League in America. There's also a slightly different group with a lot of overlap called Red Brick Universities. And I got into one of those. I got into a Russell Group Red Brick University, doing chemical engineering. And then I did chemical engineering. I didn't want to eat the bread with the seeds in it. And so I did 3 years for a bachelor's degree. 1 year in industry, so you take a year out and you just go get a job. So an internship, basically, but you do it for a full year. So you get paid internship wages, but you're just doing a proper job. I made coffee for that year. It's not really what I wanted to do, but it was very interesting, actually. And I got lots of free coffee, and I didn't have to eat the bread with the seeds in it. Then I came back and I did a master's degree, and that took like another year because it was an integrated master's degree, right? And I still had some work to do while I was on my year in industry. I still had some work to do for the degree. So 3 years bachelor's, 1 year in industry, and 1 year master's. Now, while I was doing my master's degree, something really funny happened. This guy ate this bat or something, and then they locked down the whole country. It was right when I was finishing. So, did a lot of work. I had to redo my entire master's degree project, because there's the stuff you have to do for the exam, and you also have to do the you have to do like a project, like a chemical engineering design project. So for my bachelor's degree, I did detergent powder. For my year in industry, I was working on it's called cold brew coffee, a patent for cold brew coffee. For my master's degree, I was doing wind turbine blade design, which some people say isn't that mechanical engineering, but it's to do with fluid dynamics, so it was still in the chemical engineering purview. I mean, the course was offering this as a position, right? So I did my master's degree in wind turbine blade design. I wanted to help people. I thought, listen, I cannot eat the bread with the seeds in it, and I can help people. And then that's like two good things in one, right? And yeah. So some bloke ate a bat or something like that, and then they locked the whole country down. And I was doing really well, you know. I was studying really hard. Kept thinking about that bread, how much I didn't want to eat that bread. And I had all these job offers lined up. Like, well, they're like final stage interviews. Nobody really knew what was going on with this bat thing. And they kept delaying it, they kept delaying it, they kept delaying it. Everybody was like, listen, you know, we really like you as a candidate, but there's this whole bat thing going on. We're not really sure what's going on. We'll get back to you. And so I lost all my job offers. And I had to redo my entire master's project in 6 weeks because it was a lab-based project. Because I was designing these wind turbine blades, putting them in a wind tunnel. And I couldn't get in there anymore because of this bat thing, this Batman. So I had to redo the whole project in 6 weeks. I got this thing in my wrists. You know, I didn't get it professionally diagnosed, but I would wake up and I'd be in pain, and I couldn't move my wrists properly. So I was spending 16 hours a day on the computer doing this computational model to finish my master, to redo my entire master's degree in 6 weeks. And I lost all my job offers. And I was in pain all the time. I'd go to bed in pain, and I'd wake up and my wrists were like this. They'd sort of curled up in the night, and I was in pain all the time. So I'd wake up, take the painkillers, sit down at the computer, and learn how to do a modelling project for wind turbine blades in 6 weeks. And so I did it. And I got, so I don't know how it works everywhere else. I think in America they have a number, they call it a grade point average, right? In the UK, you get, the top grade is a first. I got a first. I got a first class with honours, bachelor's degree, master's degree in chemical engineering from a top, but not very top, university. But I couldn't get a job because there was this thing with the bat. So here I was, one of the most well-qualified people in the country. I couldn't get a job. And all that work I'd done. I had this dream, you know, I wanted to be this chemical engineer. I wanted to not eat the bread with the seeds in it. I wanted the house to not be so cold all the time. I wanted to be able to afford to heat the house. And so I decided to do a PhD, because they were the only people still hiring, you see. Because of this bat thing, nobody was hiring. But they were hiring for PhDs. And I thought, well, listen, you know, I'm one of the most well-qualified people in the country. Can't get a job. Something about a bat. But I don't want to eat that bread with the seeds in it, so I'm going to do a PhD. So I went to another red brick Russell Group University to do a PhD in chemical engineering. The project this time was a little bit more about helping people. This time I was working on carbon dioxide separation. So, lots of problems in the world, but as well as the bat problem, there's this other problem that when you burn shit, releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And that's not such a big deal, but now there's 8 billion people burning shit, and it seems to be having a bit of an effect. It's releasing all this carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And I thought, listen, they're going to pay me to do this PhD. It would be less than half as much as I would make as a graduate chemical engineer with a master's degree, first class with honours, etc, etc. But, I mean, it's either this or nothing. I don't want to eat the bread with the seeds in it. So I went to do this PhD. That was frankly the worst decision of my life. It really was. It was the worst decision of my life, because see, when I was 14, I wanted to be this chemical engineer. And all that work I'd put in, all those exams I'd passed, to get the best grades, you gotta work better than everybody else, right? Some people are born smart or whatever. I think that's a bit of cope, really. Some people probably are. It's not me. The way I do better than 99% of people is I work harder than 99% of people. And so that's what I did. And at that point, I'd been doing that for like 8 years or something. And I just yeah, it was really something. But I had this dream, the dream not to eat the bread. So I did this PhD, and that's where most of you will have joined me, right? So I suppose I could have just started the video here. So the PhD was the worst decision of my life. Almost as bad as blobbing all your chasseurs in one tiny little spot here, and hoping nobody chucks a plane at them. It's like they're all fighters for now. And yeah, it was absolutely bloody awful. Every single day was awful. Because it was harder than anything I'd done before. Because of course it was. It was a more difficult degree. And my goodness, look at all the anime names. Ugh. I hated it. I hated everything about it. I wish I was exaggerating. Every day I'd wake up and I'd think, what the hell am I doing here? What am I doing here? I thought about the bread. And for a PhD, they pay you. It's not as much, right? So I think I already said this. It's about half as much as you'd make as a graduate chemical engineer, but they do pay you. And I could afford to not eat the bread with the seeds in it, and I could afford to heat the house. Um, I could afford to heat the house and not eat the bread with the seeds in it. So I kept going, and along the way, I developed this coping mechanism because I absolutely hated what I was doing, and so I found a way to escape. I started this YouTube channel. It's a YouTube channel about this video game, where you control these units on the screen. It's based in 1989, something about a Cold War. It all ended before I was born. I wonder how many of them had to eat bread with seeds in it. So it did okay. I mean, I didn't get many views, but it was fun, and it was sort of a life away from what I was doing. And February 2023. And over time, the PhD got worse and worse and worse, but the channel started doing better and better. I realised that if you make thumbnails which aren't just the same Sun Tzu image over and over again with some text on a black background, then you start getting more views. And over time, the channel kept doing better and better, and I kept doing worse and worse. Just didn't want to do what I was doing. But in the channel, I would talk about myself, and obviously I'd talk about what was on my mind. And what was on my mind was the PhD and how much I didn't want to do it, but I was still doing it. Something about bread and seeds, and this kept going on and on and on and on and on and on, and that brings us up to today, or yesterday, in fact, where I had the final exam for my PhD, my thesis defense. Those of you who've been following, I've talked about this at times, and basically my supervisors didn't want me to submit the thesis. My funding ran out in February, so the only way I've been funding myself is through this channel. It's not quite enough to live off, but it's close enough that it is essentially extending my savings, the lifetime of my savings, a lot. So I can't thank you enough, really. And this has sort of been a home away from home for me. It's just pure escapism. In this game, I'm somewhere else. I dress up like an idiot, and I just sort of goof around. And I'm one of the best players at this weird French game where you use Cold War units, most of which I've never seen in real life before. Most of an entire conflict which happened before I was born. So yeah, my supervisors didn't want me to submit the thesis. That's where we left off last time, and I sort of used the bureaucracy to get it submitted anyway because they would have to approve the submission, and I circumvented them. And basically, they were like, "Listen, your exam's gonna go badly because you shouldn't submit the thesis." It went really well. I had this exam, and it went really well. So the examiners aren't my supervisors; they're different people. They're nominated by my supervisors, but they're not my supervisors. And and so basically, it took 4 hours and 20 minutes. Started at, or 10 minutes, something like that. It started at 10:30 and finished at 14:45, something like that. But there was a 40-minute break for lunch because it was taking us so long to get through this thesis. Basically, they get access to the thesis a couple of weeks ahead of time, a bit sort of in the way that the generous channel joiners get access to videos early, that kind of thing. And then so when they get into the exam, they've already read the thesis, and then they'll have a bunch of questions to ask you about it. Basically, in order. We just started at the beginning and we worked through the entire thesis, and they said, okay, next thing, page 112. What's all this about? That sort of thing. And so it took 3.5 hours, not including the lunch break. And in the lunch break, I went to the co-op to get myself a meal deal. And I bought this sandwich. Sandwich was it was like egg salad something, but it was on bread that it had seeds in it. And I was eating the sandwich. I was thinking about this exam. It went really well. I don't understand why they didn't want me to submit it. Um, the all the questions they had were like pretty minor things. Essentially, there's an introduction and a literature review before you get into the meat and potatoes of what it is I actually did in my thesis, which is it's separating carbon dioxide from other gases by using membranes, trying to stop global warming, etc. And most of their questions were about the introduction and the literature review, which is where you look at things which are related to what you're doing but not really, and just sort of explain the big picture. And essentially the mistakes I'd made was I'd misunderstood different fields which were not really relevant to what I'm working on. In terms of what I actually did in my thesis, they had very, very few bad things to say about it. They said it was really well written, and we just sort of breezed through it. So I've passed, basically. There's the way it works is nobody just gets a full pass unless they're cheating. Essentially, you get either minor corrections, which means you only have to fix a few things, or major corrections, which means you have to fix a lot of things. And I got minor corrections, which means I have to fix a few things. So that's that, really. I mean, obviously there was this whole hoo-ha all these years, especially towards the end. My supervisors were blocking me from submitting the thesis. They said some pretty unpleasant things about my work towards the end. If you watch the previous video, you'll know what I mean. And now they're all my best friends. Let's meet up. What are you doing tomorrow? Let's meet up. Let's chat. What do you want to do next? Should we publish a paper together? All that, all that work, all that them refusing to let me submit it, saying all these things about the way it's gonna go. I walked in. The first thing they said was, "It's a really well written piece of work, Heinrich. You should be proud of what you've accomplished here." I was like, "What? How's this happened?" So it's not over yet. I got to do these corrections, but the corrections are very minor. If I really wanted to do them super fast, which I don't, I want some time off, I could probably do them in less than 2 days. It's really minor things. You've used the wrong word here. You should talk more about this. This could use a little bit of clarification. All of that. So I was 14 when I started this, and now I'm 28. So I've spent half of my life doing chemical engineering. And unless something goes dreadfully wrong, which it might do, never say never. Probably gonna have a PhD within a couple of months or so. So I've got these minor corrections to do, and then it has to go back to the university, and there's some bureaucracy, and then they'll, if it's all good, then they'll award me the PhD. So I spent half my life doing this. Spent half my life recording this video, bloody hell, And so now it's like, well, now what? You'd think I'd be bouncing off the walls or something. Wow, incredible. Yeah, we've done it. turns out you don't actually need that much money to be able to afford proper bread and to have the heating on. In the UK, you need more money than if you would in other countries. Cost of living here is quite expensive. But turns out that the amount of money I've been making off this channel, it was about 20% more, wouldn't actually have to get a job. Wouldn't actually have to be a chemical engineer. And it's funny, you know, you spend half your life working towards something. Like, this has been my life's work. The work of, you know, from 14 to 28, it's literally half my life I spent doing this. And now that I'm basically there, unless something terrible happens, it might, you know, it's not over yet. There's still a little bit more work to do. I don't want to do it anymore. Done all that training, all that preparation, I don't want to do it. I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to play this goofy game where you drive these tanks around on the map and complain about balance. That to me is a lot more fun than saving the world or whatever this other shit is I've been doing. Yeah, so let's talk about that. How's the channel doing? So, covered this in previous videos. I would need £1,550 a month to be able to live off the channel. That's before tax. This is before tax. And thanks to you guys, in September, obviously October, nowhere near over yet. September it was £1,421.16 before tax, of course. But the 1,550 would be before tax. And that's what I need to not buy bread with seeds in it anymore. 1,550, right? So last time I did this, it was here, and basically I had these 3 months where it was going down, and I was like, well, this is obviously not great. Number go down, but now number go up. So this is obviously wonderful. This UI could use a bit of work, actually. It's not really... There we go. So it's going up. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you not only for the money, the generous channel joiners, the ad revenue, you know, the super chats, but thank you for getting me through this PhD. I honestly don't know, because like I said, my funding ran out in February, and I'm not sure what I would have done if this wasn't going on. Guess I'd go get a job at Aldi, right? So, a bit more to it than that. So the views keep going down. The views are actually still going down. It's less than it was in August, and it'll probably be less in October as well. The watch time is also going down, right? So this is how many hours watched. So really, the only reason this has gone up a little bit is just because of you guys. Your generosity. That's all there is to it. So thank you. So yeah, what happens next? I mean, I'm going to keep working on the channel, right? But there's something else I've been working on. I always wanted to make my own video game. Because like now I can basically just do what I want, right? To an extent, you know. But now that I don't want to be a chemical engineer, I think I'm just going to piss about and make video games. So this is Hearst Hero. You've probably seen it before. If you're a channel joiner, you will get a game key for this when it makes it to Steam. And so basically, you drive around in a hearse, and I don't know if you've played Crazy Taxi. It's a lot like Crazy Taxi. This is just a demo level, but you drive around in a hearse. There are cars and stuff. You can go through the bushes. The assets are purchased, so that's, you know, I haven't modeled all these. They've been purchased. And basically, you're trying to run people over who have health insurance so that you can get money from their funeral to keep your hearse guy in business, right? That's the hook. So you run them over, and then you have to deliver them to... Sorry, I've ran over some, you know, in addition to some pedestrians. And then you would deliver them to the grave, which, you know, it's just placeholder. So right now it's just this green blocks. I mean, it's going to look a bit better than that. And you can get people walking around. You can get, you know, pizzas. You can drive into pizzas. There's houses and stuff. There's lighting. There's a given amount of time in the mission. And if you run people over, you'll get more time. And If you run people over, like police cars will spawn and they'll chase you. So that's in the game right now. I don't think it's on this demo level that oh no, there it is. So do you see this police car here? Yeah, he will try and chase you. The driving's a bit derpy, but it's kind of supposed to be. If he was perfect, then there wouldn't be much challenge in the game. I don't know. He's probably just driven off the map. Yeah, he's just driven off the map. Obviously, in the real game, there wouldn't be a big hole in the middle of the map. But yeah, this is what I'm working on. I mean, it's just a first game. I would sell it for less than $4. It's like $3.99, and then if you're a channel joiner, you'll just get it for free or whatever. So it's not finished yet. The main thing I've been working on recently is a fully functional map editor so that people can make their own maps. So that's this. And you can save, you can load, and basically you would make your own maps. So I can spend ages making it look good or whatever, but you can have roads, right? Or you can have like dotted roads or whatever. Okay, so that's obviously the wrong way around, but so something like that. And then you could put rocks everywhere, like there's like trees and stuff you can put down. I mean, it's just a brief showcase. You can put some houses down, so that's like an apartment block, or you can put maybe a city hall or something like that. And then you can place billboards and stuff, the things you can run into, so bus stops maybe, and you can get the orientation right. Something like that. And then you can place, like, so that there'll be cars that will move around the level, and so you can draw the paths that the cars will follow. If you add more points, then obviously it won't be like such a square kind of thing. They could turn slowly. If you added more points, you can zoom in and out, stuff like that. And you can change these points dynamically, so it says down here. And yeah, so like if I was to, this building's in the wrong place, I could click there. Okay, or I could click on the building here, and I could say, you know what, actually I want this X position to be at 5, and then it would move. Or 0, and then it would move. There's a bit of a bug where this needs to just update, right, because otherwise I have to press it again, but it still works. And you can have people just sort of walking around, right, so you can draw paths in the same way that you would draw the other one, and you can say how fast they should move and how many of them there should be on this path. Then you can add the targets, the people you actually have to, so this isn't finished yet, this is the part I'm making at the moment. The targets, the guys you actually have to run over. And then you can just play test it. And you can drive around, and there's a billboard here, there's that town hall we placed, there's shadows and so on. If these people try and run away, they try and get away from you. If you drive towards them really fast, they sort of get triggered. But you can... Okay, so he reached the end of his path. The cars are supposed to be more like obstacles, so they will just sort of push you off the road. And you might say, okay, well, this building, this wasn't working for me, and then you can just play test it again, and eventually there'll be... So once I've added all of the things you need, so I need to add the grave sites, I need to add the targets, right, because right now there's 0 targets. I need to add a way for you to change the time remaining, and... stuff like that. And then I need to add Steam Workshop integration, so you can upload your maps and people can play each other's maps. And then I need to actually make the maps that would be in the base game, add the sound, add the UI. But yeah, this is what I'm working on at the moment. Been a bit of a meandering video, really. I'm not sure what I wanted to say. It's just, it's sort of surreal to me. I've been working on this thing for like half my life. And it's almost over. This horrible nightmare is almost over. So, thanks for watching. And thanks for existing, I guess. I'll see you around.